Hi guys, I hope you're doing fine. Joanne here. I am very excited to welcome you to my YouTube channel. So based on public demand, we all know I've been writing, then I did podcasts. So based on the higher percentage of the feedback that I've been receiving, I figured we'd have like a home for everything that I do publish, from our podcasts, our videos on Instagram, everything I do. I thought we should have one major home of all things unsolicited conscious conversations from Joanne's 2 Cents podcast. So welcome aboard. Let's get started. Okay, so a brief intro of myself again. My name is Joanne. I am a Ugandan. I am in my early 20s. So the reason as to why I started this podcast, this platform, is to be able to help young people like myself to be able to have unsolicited conscious conversations about all things growth and self-discovery. I realized that usually the content we are watching on social media or on YouTube is usually about what are some things I wish I did right in my 20s, or there is so much young people in the early 20s, mid-20s, so many things we do not learn because you're fresh from school and you're starting out in your field space of work. And usually, in my experience, I was really lost. I literally had no idea what I was doing. So I thought that this podcast should be a platform, a safe space for us to be able to express ourselves, to learn, to share our experiences, to learn from each other, to have guests over people who have lived through it, people who are successful at it, so that they're able to guide us and lead us through the right path. So like I said in my very first episode, I don't know if you've listened to it. If you haven't, please go listen into it. Like I said, I am not a successful person at whatever I am. Whatever I'm doing with my life, I am figuring it out. I am growing, I am learning, and I'm learning so many things every day. I meet so many people in my daily life, so in those experiences, in those encounters, I make sure I learn something from them. So those lessons are the ones I usually write about in my blogs. And then I realize that most of us don't know. There is so much you're not taught in school about money, about relationships, about work ethics, about morals. There are so many things you probably learned within your own household which are actually wrong and don't operate like that out here. So this YouTube channel, this podcast, these blogs, everything here is intended to enable us to live fulfilling, intentional lives, to evolve, to step out of our shells, out of our comfort zones, to be able to realize our true potential. So I will be sharing my personal life experiences. On some topics, we'll have guests over so that we're able to have these conversations on a more detailed basis. So if this is something you're interested in and you're excited to hear what I have to say, let's get started. Okay, so allow me rewind, allow me take you guys back. So when you're fresh from school, what are some of the things you start with, right? Figuring things out. You graduate, you're done with school. Some of the things you usually start with are looking for a job, or there is a lot of back and forth there from the time you get your transcript to the time you actually end up in your first workplace. So my very first episode was about self-discovery. How did I realize that this is what I wanted to do with my life? Normally I started with writing. So how do you evolve to that? Then in that first episode, I am kindly asking you to go and listen into that. These make sense to you. I do not want to repeat them, so I do not bore the people that were with me every step of the way. So if you haven't and you're a fresh graduate who is trying to figure things out on how to start, on how to discover yourself, I recommend you go and listen into my podcast. So my first and second episodes were all about self-discovery. It was such a detailed conversation. I shared my experiences, everything I went through, how I figured writing was the it thing for me then. So my third episode was about being able to balance up your life. So now that you've discovered yourself, how do you strike a balance between your morals, your etiquette, your work ethic, how you present yourself? Because like I said, so many things are left out in school. Apart from you getting a first class degree or getting the highest marks or whatever you're doing, there is so much more you need as an individual to survive out here in your early 20s than what's taught in school. So in that episode, I shared more about that, your physical looks, your morals, your religious part of life, your personality. Please go and listen in. My fourth episode was about how do you position yourself now to be able to get that job? Because like I said, I shared all these based on a personal life experience, and clearly I am not any different. I am not an angel or a miracle. Most of the things I did go through are what every other ordinary 20, 21, 23-year-old goes through. You're done with school, then you're lost, then you're stuck, you're stranded, confused, or then you're losing hope, then you don't, and then most of the times you're frustrating about things that are actually out of your control, or you're worrying because you're not even doing the right thing, yet you could just fix one little thing and then everything else will be fine. So my fourth episode was about being able to position yourself. How do you find the job you're looking for? Please, if you're in that position where you're looking for a job, I suggest that you go listen into that episode. I'm going to leave the link down in the description box so that you're able to just go and listen to it directly. My fifth episode was about the self-employment experience. As I was sharing in the fourth episode, I realized that the other people who were not lucky enough to have gotten an education that's enabling them to be able to go for that job to get employed, or some other people enjoy the freedom of being self-employed, so you prefer to start up your own business. I mean, we live in such a different world from the one our parents lived in, so everyone is able to start up their own business, which is such a good thing. So I shared tips there. I shared my experience on how it did work out for me during my my self-employment experience. For those that know me, know that I have done small businesses before. So please go and listen in. That I did not share now. Like I said, I am not an expert. Some of these things I talk to friends. Let's say we're like hanging out over the weekend, and then a topic comes up, let's say about self-employment, and then, so I get tips, I ask maybe direct questions, I reach out to people who are actually running successful businesses today. Yes, so all that information, I am very sure there will be one thing or two that you've not heard of before. Please go listen in. I'll leave the link in the description box too. So my fifth episode, which is currently where we all are, were Notes to an Evolving Woman. Women, girls, there is so much that has changed from the time our mothers were girls to the way things are as of today. So my latest episode was a read out loud of a very beautiful blog that I wrote, and my mentor told me to do a read out loud. He liked it that much. I'm sure you love to listen to it. So if you're a gentleman and you're watching this, please go check it out and send it to a sister or a fiancé or a girlfriend or a mom. We have to empower women. This may sound like boring just to men, but I mean, we can't do enough. We will always have to keep pushing. So this is such a feel-good read out loud for an evolving 21st century woman. So basically that's more of it on my podcast. On my Instagram account, I have had different conversations, short conversations about education, about prioritizing talents for your siblings or children, about I've talked about so many things. Usually some ideas I get in my mind are not so broad enough for me to write a blog or to record an entire podcast episode or for us to come out here and talk about them. So I realized I'd actually do short Instagram videos that I would post as reels, and in those videos there is a lot to learn. So please go check out my Instagram account, subscribe to this YouTube channel so that you do not miss out on what the brilliant people out there have to say. I am so privileged to be around people that nurture me every single day. I have a mentor who I will introduce someday. I'll surely have him here as a guest. I have people that look out for me and equip me with so much knowledge every day, and I cannot wait to share it with all of you. So thank you guys for taking the time to watch this. I will see you on the next video. Bye. Cheers.